Live from New York, this is the Harvey Hour. My name's Nathan Harvey. It's great to have you in on a Tuesday. As always, I'm joined alongside my dad, Stephen Harvey. How are you doing today on this Tuesday?
I'm great. A lot of good things to talk about. We got our draft picks here. We got some breaking news on in sports, particularly leading up to the football draft, and the basketball playoffs are really cooking now. I love it. The first round with all the teams playing. There's a game on every 10 minutes, it seems like. It's great. Yeah. I love it.
Oh, we're finishing up our mock drafts today. That should be a lot of fun, as well as some breaking news like you mentioned, and also more draft rumors because the draft is only 2 days away at this point. Thursday, we get to see the first 32 picks of the 2024 NFL Draft. But let's begin with the breaking news that broke yesterday, and it was actually hinted to about a month and a half ago. I think I mentioned it a while ago, very slightly, though it wasn't even a topic. But Zach Wilson has been traded to the Denver Broncos along with the 2024 7th-round pick, which is number 256, in exchange for a 2024 6th-round pick, number 203. This is the fourth player, the fourth quarterback in the first round. There are only 5 quarterbacks. I'll bring it up right now. It is the fourth quarterback out of the 5 first-round quarterbacks in the 2021 NFL Draft to be traded. That goes along with Trey Lance to the Cowboys, Justin Fields to the Steelers, and Mac Jones to the Jacksonville Jaguars. Not a good look for the 2021 draft class when it comes to quarterbacks. But I want to know, what are your expectations for Zach Wilson in Denver? And also, does this draft go down as the worst quarterback draft, talent versus expectations in reality, in NFL history?
Well, first, the quarterback draft certainly looks like a bust, right? When you look at those guys and how they fought to get them, like Trey Lance, right? The 49ers traded up, gave up a lot, 3 first-round picks to get him. Seattle was the big winner in that deal, right? Weren't they the ones that got all those picks? And look what they've strengthened their team considerably with it, and Lance has turned out to be a bust. He's not even with the 49ers anymore. Mac Jones taking number 15. Look where he is now. He's not even playing for the Patriots anymore. They traded him down to play with Trevor Lawrence, who's the only quarterback that's still with the team that drafted him. And Justin Fields, no longer with Chicago. He's in Pittsburgh now. So, yeah, I think that's probably one of the bigger busts in draft history in terms of quarterbacks taken in one draft and how they fared and how they're doing now. Yeah, and I will say, the Jets thought that Wilson was going to be a franchise quarterback. They drafted him with the idea they wouldn't have to draft a quarterback for at least another 10 years. They wind up with a 256 pick, and they have to pay half of his $5.5 million salary next year. So that was a loser for them, big time.
Oh,
right?
Absolutely.
And I would say that. The Jets knew they were going to trade him. They told Wilson that they would try to trade him. It took a long time to get it done. He skipped the first week of voluntary program because he hadn't been traded, and the Broncos wound up getting him for not much. But is he worth anything? That's the question. And the question, I would say, the chances are he's probably not worth a whole lot. The Jets wind up with Tyrod Taylor, who's 34 years old now, as their backup quarterback. And maybe the Jets will draft a quarterback. I don't know. We'll see. It'll be interesting to see whether they probably wouldn't use their first-round pick on one, but maybe if there's somebody they like there later on, they might pick him up because, their backup is old and has a history of getting hurt a lot. So I don't know. They probably need somebody else along with Tyrod Taylor, just to be sure, because Rodgers is coming back from that Achilles injury. So I would say maybe he's a little questionable. Wilson's going to be a free agent at the end of the 25 season. The fifth-year option costs $22.4 million. Very doubtful that the Broncos will pick that up unless he somehow has a miraculous year. They have to pick that up by May 5th, 2025, or he'll be a free agent again. The Broncos have got the number 12 pick. I thought that they would trade up. I thought they would go for one of the elite quarterbacks by trading up, with maybe the Patriots or with the I had them trading up with the Chargers, right?
You had the Cardinals.
I'm sorry, the Cardinals,
Yeah.
right? To try to get the 4th pick, and there would be a good quarterback there. But now it looks like they're going to play it out with Stidham and Wilson, which Sean Payton's going to have to pull a rabbit out of his hat to get the best performance out of either one of those two guys. He's shown over history that he can do that. He made Jameis Winston a much better quarterback. But whether he can do that with Zach Wilson remains to be seen.
I'll say this, and just to answer the question very briefly, yes, this is probably the worst draft when it comes to expectations versus actual performance. You got Trevor Lawrence, who's called a generational talent. He's probably going to consistently be called that as the years progress. He already made a couple playoff games, nearly beat Mahomes, had 2 opportunities. Zach Wilson, I feel like from day one was set in stone to be the number 2 overall pick to the Jets. Didn't fully understand that. They moved up to get Trey Lance, 3 first-round picks. It was a complete disaster. And then what was funny about that draft, actually, was that they re-signed Jimmy G to a 1-year deal, even though, it was, I believe, the year before last, where it was supposed to be Trey Lance's team. They signed Jimmy G to a reconstructed 1-year deal. Clearly, they weren't confident enough in him for him to be the long-term starter, at least the objective first year 1 starter, just completely going through the entire process of that and seeing him grow. That's the problem. He didn't have enough snaps. Justin Fields, very mobile, athletic guy. Ohio State performed very well, supposed to be a good quarterback. Got drafted 11th overall. Mac Jones. He was incredible in college. I believe he still has the only 4,500-yard season with 70+% completion percentage. It's some crazy number like that. The only college quarterback to do it. And let me bring up these numbers again. These are the quarterbacks that were traded. 4 out of the 5 first-round quarterbacks were traded. This is a complete disaster. The Jets, they're just a historically bad franchise when it comes to quarterbacks. Thank God for Aaron Rodgers, although he still got hurt. Brett Favre was there, still got hurt. Only played 8 games for him. Trey Lance, he will not, I guarantee you right now, as long as Dak Prescott is there, Trey Lance will not play a single snap. Because currently, as the depth chart is constructed, Cooper Rush is still number 2 on the depth chart. So he's the emergency quarterback. He won't even play a single snap unless Cooper Rush and Dak get hurt. Or by the end of next year, or actually, depending on what the Cowboys do with Cooper Rush, although he's won a number of games for him, why would you get off him? Trey Lance is not going to get any playing time. Justin Fields, he's just a bad quarterback when it comes to holding on to the football. Turnover prone, leads the league in fumbles since he entered the league. A complete disaster. He can run the ball very well. Accuracy and decision-making, still a massive issue when it comes to Justin Fields, but he's going to learn underneath Russell Wilson, at least for the foreseeable future. So we'll have to wait and see. And then finally, Mac Jones. Promising rookie year. Head coach got petty, decided to sign a defense coordinator and a special teams coach to be his quarterback coach and offensive play caller. A complete mess. And then, relationships broke down, fractured, and ended up, the parting gift of Belichick to the Patriots was telling Mac Jones that he's not even the quarterback 2 and Nathan Rourke is the backup. Mac is the emergency quarterback 3, which he didn't find out reportedly until about an hour before the game. But the quarterbacks in this draft weren't very good and maybe never see the field again when it comes to being a starter. Kyle Trask, Kellen Mond, Davis Mills, Ian Book, and Sam Ehlinger. This is just an entirely very, very, very poor draft class when it comes to quarterbacks, with the first 5 of them being very, very, promising, at least. That's what the draft stock said.
No. Who knows? It might happen again. Maybe these guys that are being touted this time around will turn out to be bust as well. Who knows? It's hard to know.
I mean,
a franchise quarterback comes along rarely.
Absolutely.
Not very often.
100%.
C.J. Stroud is the most recent one. There really hasn't been one recently since him, right? Who else recently has been turned out to be a franchise quarterback? Trevor Lawrence looked like he was headed that direction, but he had a big setback this past year.
Right.
So
what's your opinion on Kyler Murray? He got a massive extension.
Yeah, well, I don't think he's really lived up to what they expected. Right, he was the Heisman Trophy winner.
Right, that's true.
Right.
Well, since that draft, Brock Purdy, I think, is the only one you could say.
And he was drafted last in the draft.
Dead last, very dead last, because Skylar Thompson ate it. Sam Howell's not it. Bailey Zappi's not it. Malik Willis, nope. Desmond Ridder tried and failed. And then Kenny Pickett, they got rid of him. They got off him for a
hard to find a great quarterback. Hard to find a great quarterback. You don't know where it might be either. If Brock Purdy really is a franchise quarterback, then picking him up in the last pick in the draft is a steal and unexpected, totally unexpected.
Right.
Yeah. I think he benefits a lot from the players around him.
Oh, 100%.
And the system where he has one of the best offensive minds in football, and Kyle Shanahan.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But just a few more comments on the this trade.
Sure.
So, the Broncos have the 12th pick. I thought they would trade up, right, as I mentioned, right? And Sean Payton says, drafting a QB has to be the right fit. We don't know who the others will take. So they may be still watching, right? Maybe they will take a quarterback with the 12th pick if the right fit is still there for them. But their GM said, we want the right player at 12. It has to be an impact player.
Right.
So it might be a quarterback, it might be a wide receiver, it might be a lineman. You don't know. They're going to wait and see. Releasing Wilson, $85 million dead money charge, $53 million in 2024. That's a big expense to swallow, man. And the Broncos have had 12 different starters since Manning started Super Bowl 50.
Right.
So it's been a revolving door. It's been a circus, and Wilson counts a little over $8 million against the Jets cap, so that's not too big a deal. And he was dissed badly. I mean, they benched him multiple times. At the end of the season, Woody Johnson said, we needed a backup quarterback. We really didn't have one last year, but he did say that Wilson never really had the opportunity to learn from Rodgers, which is what they were hoping. In 34 games, he was 11-21, 23 TDs, 25 interceptions, 57% completion percentage, 35th in passer rating, QBR of 33.6 over 3 years. So he was very poor.
Right. Well, I'll say this. ESPN, at least, as it's currently said on ESPN, Zach Wilson's not even the starter. He's behind Jarrett Stidham. So he's fallen and barely above Ben DiNucci. So he's very, very much bottom of the barrel, and that's what expected. He's not had a very good career. It's been very underwhelming, but it's also the New York Jets, one of the hardest markets to play in, especially for a young quarterback who, I think we ought to be honest, he looked very talented, but when it came to actually proving your worth, he had a very, very difficult time doing it. Now, poor offensive line, I'm sure, contributed to that. However, we did see some flashes. Nearly beat the Chiefs.
Yeah,
beat the Broncos, although Breece Hall had a pretty good game in that one. When it comes to the Broncos,
beat the Texans,
right? Well, I think that was without C.J. Stroud, though.
But he had a great game.
He played well, correct?
He played very well,
correct. I think in order for him to succeed, I think Sean Payton might be one of the best head coaches he could have gone to. I think Kevin O'Connell would have been fine. I think obviously Kyle Shanahan would have been fine. But I think look what Sean Payton did to Jameis Winston. 14 touchdowns, 3 picks after he just came off a 30 interception season. That's impressive. That turnaround is pretty impressive.
I would have thought that the Broncos might have looked at Jameis Winston. He's a free agent.
Well, you would think, but unfortunately, no. I guess in the case of Jameis, who's still looking for, or who I believe is still out there, I'm gonna throw something out here. I don't know if it'll stick. They're at the 12th pick. I have them picking Bo Nix. Let's say we go with my mock draft, which means that Rome Odunze is still there. Do the Broncos take another wide receiver? Because they got rid of Jerry Jeudy. Now, they did sign Josh Reynolds and already have Marvin Mims, who showed some flashes. I think, truthfully, if we take a look at it, and let's just say that the Jets decide to go offensive lineman, could they also go Brock Bowers? I think there's two ways, both offensive, even though, it would not shock me if Sean Payton says, you know what, screw it. Let's go with Jarrett Stidham as our quarterback. Let's get him a wide receiver or another tight end, because currently their tight end is Adam Troutman. So I'm not entirely sure what they'll do. What are you looking for? Are you looking for your Broncos pick?
Broncos pick.
You had them selecting Drake May, number 4 overall.
Well, that's Adam trading up.
Right.
And that ain't going to happen.
Well, you don't think so?
No, I don't know. I don't know. I don't think we're going to talk about the Patriots, who have the 3rd pick, interested in trading down, but we'll get to that topic in a few minutes.
Well, let's go right to it then. Okay. So Dianna Russini recently reported that the Patriots have begun taking calls from, most importantly, the Minnesota Vikings, as well as Adam Schefter chime in, and also saying the New York Giants are interested in trading up. to the 3rd overall pick. There's a lot to be said about this because apparently the Giants are still fascinated in trading up even though they have the 6th overall pick, trying to get, probably it comes to J.J. McCarthy when it comes to the Patriots. He said on the Pat McAfee show that the Giants and the Vikings have been the most active teams as it pertains to the possibility of landing the 3rd overall pick with the New England Patriots. Now, we heard from Elliot Wolf that he went back and forth several times, but in essence, his message is the Patriots are open for business. They're willing to trade back if that's what it requires, but also we heard that he also is pushing hard for J.J. McCarthy. Now, Jaden Daniels was also reportedly Belichick's pick. Now, Dianna Russini is also saying that Jonathan Kraft, son of Robert Kraft, the owner, is going to be heavily involved with whatever they decide to do with the number 3 pick. There's a bunch of things going on. This is a rare territory for the New England Patriots because normally they're picking between 25 and 32, most of the time at 32 because they keep winning Super Bowls. Now they're higher up, 15th and higher, and now they're at number 3, the highest draft pick they've had since, I believe, 1992. So there's a lot going on. They need a quarterback. They signed Jacoby Brissett. The reported plan was they're going to get rid of Mack, sign a veteran quarterback, and draft a rookie quarterback. Now there's a lot of interest, and here's the big kicker. We both thought, what is going to take for the Patriots to trade back? What the reported asking price for the number 3 overall pick when it comes to the Minnesota Vikings are the number 11th pick, 23rd overall pick, 2025 first, 26th first-round pick. So they're asking for 4 first-round picks.
That's ridiculous request.
Maybe.
I think that's a ridiculous request. I think they should be happy to get the 11th and the 23rd. If they could get those two are 2 high first-round picks. I would take that for the number 3 pick. I think that's enough. And they might be able to land that with the Vikings. The Vikings are looking for a quarterback. The Patriots have hinted that they're really interested in J.J. McCarthy. That may be just bait. Maybe that's bait. Maybe they're not that interested in him because they know the Vikings are. The Giants, they've got the 6th round pick. They have second round. Do they have a 2nd round pick at all? I don't think so. I think they only have a 3rd round after that. So maybe they would have to give a first this year and a first next year to entice the Patriots to trade up.
Pick.
And the Patriots probably wouldn't get as much, right, from the Giants because they only have to drop to number 6.
Right.
They go from 3 to 6. There's still a ton of really good players available at number 6. So,
well, let's go with the question. What do you think the Patriots should the Patriots trade out of the number 3 overall pick?
If they could get the Vikings 11th and the 23rd, I'd do it.
That's it. That's all it would take for you to drop
2 first-round picks. 2 first-round picks in the higher, the higher numbers in the draft. There, I think that's legit. I mean, to ask for 2 more first-round picks later on, I don't think the Vikings there'd still be a quarterback for them at number 11. At number 11, I think Penix will be there for them.
And Bo Nix maybe.
Yeah. So I think they could go with either one of those 2 guys, given all the talent that they're going to have around them. It could be a similar situation to Purdy, with a lot of talent around you. They have the wide receiver talent is as good or better than the 49ers, but the Vikings have. The running back, not as good. The running back's not as good.
Well, that's for sure. Well, when it comes to the Patriots, though, the Patriots have so many holes. There were 30 wide receivers. No, it might have been more than that. I think it might have been. I think it's 60 wide receivers who had more receiving yards than Demario Douglas, who led the Patriots in receiving yards. That's bad. Yeah. Ramondre Stevenson regressed last season. He also dealt with injuries.
He got hurt.
Antonio Gibson is now their running back too, who isn't that great of a running back. They did sign Hunter Henry back, and they also got Austin Hooper. Offensive line is still a mess. Defense is still, it should be pretty good.
Be good.
We'll see how the coaching does, but their defense is basically the same defense it has been since about 2021. So that should be fine. They also did sign KJ Osborne, who is not anything too special, but he's not horrible at all. So it's what are they going to do moving forward? For me, it really depends, and I've said this before. What are you looking for? Are you in love with any sort of quarterback? If you're in love with Drake May and he's available at 3, choose him. If you're in love with Jaden Daniels, who was Belichick's pick, not many things I agree with Belichick on, that would be one of them, though. If he's available and you love him, take him. But if you're still 50-50 or maybe even 60-40 or hell, even 99-1, think about trading back. Seriously think about trading back. Because there is no reason you should take a gamble on a quarterback you're not in love with the 3rd overall pick. I think it may be a little bit too much to say, yeah, let's go with 2 first-round picks this year, a first-round pick in 2025, and a first-round pick in 2026. That's pushing it a little bit. But it is the third overall pick, so we have to realize that this is in high order. And besides, it depends on who's available. Because reportedly, if Jaden Daniels is available at number 3, the asking price will be much higher for any other team to trade up to number 3. So if the Patriots are not in love with Jaden Daniels and they prefer Drake May, and for some reason now all signs are pointing to Jaden Daniels going 2, but let's just say he goes number 3, or he's available at number 3, and the Commanders draft Drake May at number 2, or J.J. McCarthy. I don't know what's going to happen with the Commanders. However, let's just say Drake May or J.J. McCarthy, whoever, and Jaden Daniels available at number 3, and the Patriots don't love him. And then the Vikings say, okay, how about this? We won't go 4, but let's go with 3 first-round picks. I'd take that. I'd take it. Now, you could also go this route. We'll just say, screw it, we're playing for 2025. You draft Marvin Harrison, maybe the best player in this entire draft, which is what you have in your mock draft, and just say, we're going to plan for this. You know what? Jacoby Brissett could be our quarterback moving forward. We may be able to get, every last bit of Bailey Zappi that we can out of him for 2024. And you know what? We'll just have the best wide receiver in this entire draft class and say, we're building for the future here. Just wait and see. New reinvigorated offense. And then we'll have to wait and see. We'll go out and get Shedeur Sanders.
Yeah.
You could do that.
Yeah. That's a possibility, but now I'm thinking it's less of a possibility than I did when I put Harrison there at number 3. And this is the reason why. Jonathan Kraft is going to be involved in the decision-making.
Heavily involved, too.
Well, why would I think that says to me the Patriots, don't look for them to do a whole lot going forward here. When they let ownership into the decision-making on running the team on the field, that's a mistake. And Belichick never allowed that, and it was a smart move on his part and on the team's part to let the football decisions be made by the football people and not by the ownership. What's Jonathan Kraft know about drafting players? I don't think that's a smart move on the Patriots' part. I'm surprised his father is allowing that.
I'll also say this. You finally got guys in proper roles now with titles. The big man downstairs is moved out of the building. The guy who controlled basically your entire organization for the past 20 years. He's out of the building. Now you actually hired guys to fit in roles like GM. Let him do his job. You're an owner. You're your co-owner technically with your dad. Let your GM who you hired, who did a great job selecting quarterbacks and quarterback analysis with Green Bay, let him do his job and analyze a quarterback and build for the future here. Don't get involved. That's where I agree with you.
Well, thank you.
Too much Jerry Jonesing right now. Too much involvement. Too much tampering with the guys who are
Jerry
supposed to do their
Jones
job.
gives himself the title. He is the GM, right? So
You're
he hasn't been that great. I mean, in 30 years they haven't made it to the Super Bowl.
Right.
They haven't made it to the Super Bowl in 30 years, so he hasn't done a great job in that role either. But Jonathan Kraft getting involved in making these decisions, I think, is a huge mistake. And I think they should leave it up to the football people that they hired to make these decisions. That's the way it should go. And I do think that we don't know what's going to happen here. I mean, it's all going to be dictated by who the first 2 players are taken in the draft.
Right.
The Patriots have made it obvious to everyone, and they've telegraphed it. We're open to trading down. Okay. Right. They've thrown out some huge numbers, and they're certainly willing to take less than that. 4 first-round picks. Come on. If the Vikings offer them the 11th and the 23rd pick for number 3, as long as Jaden Daniels is not there, the Patriots are going to take it, I think. And the Vikings probably might do it. And then the Patriots at number 11, there's probably still a pretty good quarterback there. Either Penix or Knicks probably is still there.
Right.
So they could pick one of those guys and still have the 23rd pick to pick a great wide receiver or an offensive lineman.
Right.
So I think that if I were them, they're trolling this right now. They've asked for way more than they probably know or expect that they would get back, and that it's all going to play out in that 15-minute period there between the second and the third pick to know what these other teams are going to do.
I'll say this. And this is funny how they described it. So team insiders believe that Wolf will spend the number 3 pick on a quarterback unless the team receives a so-called, quote, Godfather offer that includes more than 3 first-round selections. The Godfather offer. It's a quite interesting way to describe it.
I don't think God is going to step in here and give the Patriots 4 first-round picks for that third-round
If
pick.
anything,
That's crazy. That's way too much to pay.
Why?
I think it's too much to pay, right?
Hey,
Any team.
If someone offers it, I mean, think about this. Trey Lance, the 49ers moved 3 first-round picks to move up to number 3.
They regret it 100%.
Right, and also they were apparently Kyle Shanahan, I think, wanted Mac Jones at number 3. And I believe John Lynch said, let's go with Trey Lance. I'm pretty sure that's what the report said. They were not 100% sold on Trey Lance being their guy. So 3 first-round picks is not out of the ordinary. It's not uncalled for to move up to number 3.
Mm-hmm.
So
the Patriots will be happy.
The
Patriots will be happy to take the 11th and the 23rd pick for number 3 if Jaden Daniels is not there. That's what they're telegraphing.
Why would you only get 2 first-round picks to move up from 11 to 3 when they're? Here's what the report is. So let's say Jaden Daniels goes at number 2, right? We heard this before. They are absolutely in love with Drake May, and also they're quite high on J.J. McCarthy.
The Patriots.
No, the Vikings.
Oh, the Vikings, yeah.
So if you're telling me if a team is in love with 2 quarterbacks that won't be available most likely by the time they draft at number 11, why wouldn't they overpay for a guy who they think very strongly or absolutely in love with or quite high on in order to move up, 7 spaces, 8 spaces?
I don't think it was good strategy for them to telegraph that. They shouldn't have said that. Then that makes the asking price much higher.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. It's not out of the ordinary for a team to go from 11 to 3 and give up 3 first-round picks. That's not if you're talking about 4 first-round picks and 5, whatever the case may be. That's where you're pushing it. Don't expect to get a Justin Jefferson. Don't expect to even get a Jordan Addison.
You think the Patriots are really expecting to get 4 first-round picks for the 3rd pick?
Hey, if they give me 3 first-round picks and I'm moving only
3,
8 spaces
4.
back, 8 spaces back. And guess what? You're still going to get a quarterback if you want, or you can push your luck a little bit, get a top-tier wide receiver at 11, and pray that Penix or Knicks fall to 23. I think Penix will most likely be available at 23, but still, you get a quarterback, you fill 2 massive holes. You get a seriously good wide receiver, most likely prospect, because we don't know, and you also get a quarterback who is projected to be around the first round, late first round, early second round pick.
There's a lot of good wide receivers in this draft.
Projected to be, correct.
And so they could wait till 23 to get the wide receiver.
You could do that.
And there will be a good quarterback at 11 too. Maybe the Vikings will choose to do that. Maybe they'll wait till 11. They know there's going to be probably Michael Penix is going to be there. They could take him. And then at 23, they don't need a wide receiver. They can go. They've got a bunch of other holes to fill, right, on defense.
Well, and here's what's interesting. Let's just say that the draft plays out as is, right? I think there's actually a shot if the Giants go receiver. Actually, definitely, if the Giants go receiver, J.J. McCarthy will fall to 11. Right into the waiting arms of the Vikings anyway.
Who do you think the Giants are going to take?
I'm saying they go Malik Neighbors. I have them in my mock draft. They're already screwed with Daniel Jones. They signed, they're absolutely screwed. They signed Drew Lock. I think they're looking for next year because most likely the season is going to end in Brian Daboll getting fired. So they might just go full hard reset, get rid of the quarterback, get rid of the head coach, and move on to, greener pastures with a new coach and a rookie quarterback. I think that's what they might do. Now, if Brian Daboll can make his case like Robert Saleh probably has, saying, well, we've had a horrible situation. I came into a crap situation with a quarterback that was incompetent most likely, and he had one good season. Joe Shane, you made the mistake in giving him a massive contract. That's not on me. I think he can maybe argue to keep his job, but I would definitely think that they're probably most likely going to go wide receiver because they just have so many holes on offense. Offensive line is a mess. Running back, they don't currently have one that's good enough. You have Devin Singletary, but he's not anything too special. He had an okay season with Houston last year.
I think the Giants are in trouble.
Quarterback is a massive hole because he is the general of your team. Like you always say, he touches the ball on every play.
That's right.
So if you don't have a quarterback, what do you have?
And I think the Giants definitely should draft one because their team they're probably not going to be that good this year. The chances are they're not going to be that good.
I bet large money that they're not going to be good.
And Daniel Jones is he's going to likely have a tough time. He's coming off an ACL injury. So there's a good chance that he's going to get benched. There's got to be some excitement there. If you got to bring somebody in that could be the guy, could be the future of the team. So if they don't draft a quarterback at 6 with somebody good like McCarthy there, or maybe even Drake May there, I think that's a mistake. So the Giants are talking about trading up, though, right?
They are. And
so
also,
if they were trading up, they're trading up for a quarterback for sure. They're worried.
Absolutely.
They're worried that McCarthy might not be there. There's a guy they really want, right? They've met with him 4 or 5 times now.
Yeah, had a private workout. I had dinner with him. Here's what's fascinating. What came out today was that the Las Vegas Raiders tried to trade up to 2. The Commanders are not going to move, but they seriously inquired to trade all the way up from 12 to 2.
Yeah.
You know what that would include, right? That 12th overall pick as well as Devontae Adams.
Yeah.
You're not moving 10 spaces with a team that desperately needs a quarterback unless you're saying you're going to get arguably one of the best wide receivers, used to be the number 1 wide receiver in the NFL. At least that pick and Devontae Adams.
Yeah.
And obviously much, much more. And the Commanders said, no, we're staying at number 2.
They want Jaden Daniels. I'm pretty sure of it.
You would think so. He had a phenomenal season. I'm praying, for the sake of the Patriots, that they draft Drake May or J.J. McCarthy. And here's the thing. Regardless of what happens, there is only one team that I could confidently say, 1.5, because I'm not entirely sure, teams that I think, no matter what quarterback goes to, they'll excel. I think the half is the Bears. Historically, they haven't had a quarterback that's thrown for 30 more touchdowns or 4,000 yards. However, they have a bunch of new talent. They got the DeAndre Swift. They got Keenan Allen. They already had DJ Moore. They're building an offensive line. They have pieces there. You add Caleb Williams. That looks like it could work. Could work. I think just with the offensive mentality as well as skill, the Vikings would be the team that I'm saying, no matter what quarterback goes there, barring injuries, any quarterback could succeed in that system. Because I just think what you have, Jordan Addison, TJ Hawkins, and Justin Jefferson, Aaron Jones, as well as Christian Darrisaw with Kevin O'Connell, that will work. So J.J. McCarthy's best shot, because he never had to be relied on. I always have it next to me, 155 passing yards a game on 17.8 attempts. Was not relied on in college. Mm-hmm. You don't need to be relied on that heavily when you have that talent surrounding you. You go to the Patriots, you go to the Commanders, you go to the Giants.
So you think the Patriots are going to draft a quarterback then? Because either one of those 2 guys is going to be there at 3.
I'm hoping the Patriots get Jaden Daniels. And I think based on what all the signs are pointing to, Drake May is probably the bet, and I don't love that. Because I keep looking at the negatives on the scouting report. Literally verbatim what Mac Jones did this season that people beat him up for. Head-scratching interceptions. Yeah. Mac Jones did that always. Mm-hmm. Staying locked in on your first read.
I think the Washington Commanders have looked at that scouting report, and they're going to pick Jaden Daniels. Yeah.
Also, they just drafted a guy from North Carolina who wasn't all that good. Why go there again?
Yeah. Well,
might go 0 for 2.
Yeah, well, we'll see.
We will see.
So you don't think the Patriots should take 3 first-round picks to trade down?
No, if they offer 3 first-round picks, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Not 2, though. You wouldn't take 11 and 23?
I would not just take 11 and 23. At a very good player. You have to give me something else than those 2 first-round picks.
I see.
Give me something more. Give me something that could equate to a first-round pick in essence if it's a player.
Jordan Addison?
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe. He was a first-round wide receiver. Maybe. Because then what you could do for 11 and 23 is get a quarterback and another gap piece that you need.
Yeah.
So
we'll see. I can't wait for the draft.
The draft is 2 days away. It's going to be fascinating to watch. We'll be recapping round 1 to see who had the best draft so far, obviously, because there's 3 days. So we'll have to wait and see. But coming up, we break down some of the NBA action. The Celtics dominant over the Miami Heat without Jimmy Butler in a 114-94 win, as well as the Knicks are up 2-0 in one of the best NBA weekends when it comes to playoffs that I maybe have ever seen in my entire lifetime, as well as, of course, we do our mock draft 3.0, picks 22 to 32, all of that up right after this.
Whether you're just discovering your voice or taking your show to the next level, you know what the world needs to hear. All you have to do is say it. With Spotify, set up your podcast. Your food podcast. Your mindfulness podcast. Your never thought you'd get this far podcast. And watch those sparks fly.
I put a picture of the comment.
Drop the episode anywhere people listen. And find out who they're cooking with. Where they're finding inner balance. and why they love your show. You're already a creator. Now you can create, connect, and get paid for your passion with one single free tool. Spotify for podcasters. Talk where the world listens.
Using Wi-Fi without NordVPN could mean sharing your private stuff with more people than you think. Stay safe on public Wi-Fi. Get NordVPN's special offer and encrypt your internet connection. NordVPN. Online security starts with a click.
Welcome back to the Harvey Hour. My name is Nathan Harvey. It's great to have you in on a Tuesday. As always, I'm joined alongside my dad, Stephen Harvey. Let's get into our next topic of today's show. So the Boston Celtics decided to show up and show out in Game 1 against the Miami Heat without Jimmy Butler, who came out today, the reports today from Shams, that he won't be, Jimmy Butler will not play in any game in round 1 of these playoffs. I think that is massive, a massive win for the Boston Celtics and a significant loss for the Miami Heat, who did not really show out very well in Game 1. They lost 114-94 in TD Garden. So the Celtics came out dominant, scoring 44.9% of threes. They made 22 threes, and they became the first team in postseason history to have every player who had a singular minute score at least one three-pointer. So they set some records already in Game 1 of the playoffs. But I want to know, do you think that this performance in Game 1 is a sign of things to come for both the Celtics and the Heat?
I do think so. I mean, Jimmy Butler isn't going to play the whole series. That's a big loss for them. I mean, they weathered the loss of Hero last year, right? He didn't play in any series last year, and they made it to the finals. But they had better talent last year. They just don't have the depth this year, and I think that showed up the other night with Adebayo really being their one and only star out there. 24 points, 6 rebounds, 3 assists. The other players, nobody really that close to 20. Jacquees had 16 points.
Jaquez. Jaime Jaquez.
Jaquez?
Yeah, Jaquez.
Okay, thanks. Jacquees. I don't know how to pronounce his name. I'm sorry. 16 points, 4 rebounds, 4 assists, 1 steal. And then Wright had 17 points, 1 rebound, 3 assists, and 2 steals. Where was Tyler Hero? He only had 11 points, right?
Yeah, he shot poorly, yeah.
Yeah, 4 rebounds, 4 assists, 1 steal. Those guys got to play a lot better, and I'm sorry, you're going up against a team that's got a starting 5 of all that could be considered all-stars for the most part, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And Jason Tatum is off to a great start, 23 points, 10 rebounds, 10 assists, and a steal.
Yeah.
And a triple-double to start. That's a great way to get going, and he needs to be good in every game, I think, because there's question marks about him in the playoffs. His past performances with lots of turnovers and then coming up small and in big games and being inconsistent. I think he needs to be consistent out there every game. It's really important for them. I think they should try to go for the sweep in this series, and it's possible now that Jimmy Butler's not going to be playing at all.
I'll say this about the Celtics. No matter what the score was, why didn't I feel confident? I think I'm just looking at recent history and saying no matter what's happening, it's either the Celtics get ice cold or the Heat can outpace you. I never felt confident. No matter, they were by 34 at one point late in the game. I did not feel confident. I felt, okay, they
lost a lot of that lead.
Right, I was going to say, they probably will win this game. But the Heat are always sort of shifty, no matter who's out there. And I think there were 2 massive losses. The first one would be Terry Rozier, who they traded away Kyle Lowry to go get. That's a massive loss because Kyle Lowry, we saw a couple moments even in the Knicks-Sixers series where he's hitting down shots. Game 1, he made a couple crucial threes that kept the score relatively close or extended the Sixer lead. So getting rid of a guy, basically, and then you trade it for the guy who's hurt, not exactly a good thing for you. I also says the massive loss of Gabe Vincent, who's not having a great series really at all. I don't think he's ever played. He hasn't scored a single point for the Lakers so far. That's a massive loss for the Heat. Caleb Martin also, he's having a down series. Not only that, he's having just the down playoffs in general. There's only one game out, But Caleb Martin this entire season has not played very well.
Yeah.
In the playoffs last year, he averaged nearly 13 points a game, shooting 42% from three.
He was big in the 7th game against the Celtics.
Massive. He was a large part of the reason why they won. He's shooting 0% so far. He took 4 threes, but he missed all of them. So having a lot of your players not hit shots, Jaime Jaquez, the amount of effort for a rookie he's putting in is actually incredible. Jason Tatum had his 3rd career triple-double. This is his first time in the playoffs he's had a triple-double. That's impressive. You want him to get on a hot streak because we saw in this game he still does not shoot the 3 very well. 1 of 8 from 3. Thank God for other players like Derek White and Kristaps Porzingis shooting 4 threes. Sam Hauser, congratulations to him. He shot 4 of 6 from 3. His only shots of the game, 12 points. He had a great game for his limited minutes. He scored 12 points in about 14 minutes.
The scoring was really well balanced for the Celtics. Brown had 17 points, Porzingis 18 points, White 20 points. You mentioned Hauser 12 points, Horford 10 points, Pritchard 8 points, and they spread the ball around. Brown 3 assists, Porzingis an assist, White 4 assists, Hauser 1 assist, Pritchard 5 assists. So they were playing great. They played great in that game. They did. Give up the lead. They didn't give it up the lead, but they lost a 34-point lead down to under 15 at one point, I think. So, they got to be careful of that. They've had the problems with that this season, right? Getting way up there and then getting a little complacent, and suddenly the game is closer than they wanted it to be.
Absolutely.
So they got to watch out for that. But they look really good in the first game.
And we saw them against the Cavs earlier this season. I think they were up by 20 late in the game, and all of a sudden the Cavs started hitting shots, the Celtics get ice cold, and the Celtics lost that game as well. So that's what they have to be afraid of is, like, this team, think about this, without Jimmy Butler after the first quarter, they were only up by 5. They were up 17-2 in the first quarter at one point. Then you end the quarter on a 19-9 run for the Heat. That's not good. And that's without the Heat's best player, hands down. Now, Bam stepped up the best he could. He scored 24 points at 6 rebounds. He tried his best, but he got into foul trouble. He had 4 fouls. Here's where it gets worrisome again. And once again, congratulations to the Celtics. You got one up on the Heat. It's better than what you did last year. You went down 0-3 and nearly mounted a phenomenal comeback in the Eastern Conference Finals. But we have to look at this. If the Celtics, which they are prone to do just because of how much they focus on it, if they start missing some of the threes that they make, what's their option number 2? What's their 2.0 of offense? Because they got dominated in the paint by the Heat, 44-24 points. Heat, Celtics. If you're not hitting your outside shots, who's saying that the Heat can't sustain a lead for a large part of the game? Who's saying they can't steal one from you? That's why I'm nervous. Now, we each picked the Celtics to win this series. And I'm not saying that the Heat are going to all of a sudden upset the Celtics whatsoever. I'm not saying that. Not even thinking it. But if I'm talking about confidence level, like, for instance, the Celtics beat the Hawks last year, but it was too close. Some of the games were way too close for the talent versus the actual performance. The 76ers as well. Some of those games were too close. And then they go to the Heat series. The Heat wiped the floor the first 3 games. Embarrassed them completely. And then in Game 7, like you said, Caleb Martin went off in a number of clutch threes. Series over. Game 7, He moved on to the finals.
The Game 6 win in Miami was unexpected,
Derek
right?
White,
Derek White.
It was a crazy buzzer beater. And that was the reason that they won. It was a Derek White buzzer beater. Otherwise, that series should have been in 6 games. Instead, they had to be have a massive dud in Game 7. So, yes, this is a tremendous win for the Celtics. Jason Tatum played okay, still can't hit a 3 for the life of him, and he actually nearly cost them that record. He only hit 1 3 the entire game out of 8 attempts.
Huh.
So all I'm saying is I'm nervous. I have a healthy level of skepticism.
I'm nervous as well. I think the Celtics mindset should be blowout in Game 2. Blow them out.
You should.
You got to blow them out. You got to hurt their confidence.
Now, 20 points is a blowout, to be fair. 20 points is a blowout.
Yeah.
But I'm talking about
I'm saying
let up
Game 2,
all.
it's got to be a blowout too.
Don't let up whatsoever. You're up by 34. You want to win by within 30. Don't let up. I don't care who's out there. I don't care if your bench players don't play. I don't care if they do play. Throw Xavier Tillman out there. I don't care. You have to remain consistent. Don't let up. Because just like every coach, when I played basketball, every coach told me, what you do in practice is what you'll do in the game. Don't let up whatsoever. Because if you let up even an ounce, which they did a number of times in this game when they started getting cold, the Heat get hot and make this game way closer than it has to be, then you're not necessarily playing catch up. You're just maintaining a level that you need to play in order to just maintain your lead.
Patriots mindset. I'm sorry. The Celtics mindset should be sweep.
I mean,
be sweep.
Without Jimmy Butler,
blowouts.
With
Jimmy Butler, you should sweep.
Absolutely.
Got to have that mindset.
And I would say this: what they sort of did with Giannis, of let Giannis get his, and we're just gonna make sure everyone else doesn't do anything. Reverse that. Don't let Bam Adebayo do anything. Let Tyler Hero, who is prone to having poor shooting streaks, let him shoot. Jaime Jaquez, let him do his thing. As long as we take Bam, who is the number 2 player on that team, he doesn't get red hot and all of a sudden score 35 points, we'll be okay. Because the Celtics are one of the deepest teams, I think, in the NBA. Because their first 7, 8, maybe even 9 guys are incredible. Absolutely incredible. And they're playing on an 8-man rotation right now.
Yeah.
They're not even putting in some of their reserves. And now Sam Hauser, I think, he's going to get a lot more playing time, because if he could go out and shoot 6 shots, make 4 of them, and all of them are threes, you play 14 minutes nearly and score 12 points, that gets you a lot of playing time. And most importantly, that's in the playoffs. And I think one of his first 3 threes within 5 minutes, and that's when the Heat started to make a little bit of a comeback and made the game too close. Sam Hauser comes up, scores 9 points in 5 minutes, I believe, and all of a sudden you've increased your lead. So as long as they keep that going, if they can continue to hit threes, they should be blowing out teams left and right.
Yeah.
But what's your option 2 if and when the Celtics start missing some of the threes they make? Because Kristaps Porzingis made a couple just catch it, shoot threes that they don't always go in. Let's say Jaylen Brown doesn't go 3 for 5. Let's go, he's 1 for 5. Let's say Jason Tatum has another poor shooting performance. Let's say Derek White doesn't shoot 50% from 3. What's your option 2? Because you got dominated in the paint 44 to 24.
Maybe Hauser is a bigger player in this playoffs than he was last year. They didn't let him play much at all last year.
So what, he'd be like the Grant Williams Game 7 against the Bucks, where he just goes out and shoots threes all day, makes a bunch of them?
Could be.
You're hoping that.
Peyton Pritchard didn't play much last year, right? He's done much better this year. They had him in there. He did quite well. They
also signed him to a decent extension as well, so he's going to be there for a number of years.
Yeah.
Drew Holiday, not the offensive piece I think they were even expecting, but defense. I mean, in this game, he scored. He scored 6 points in this game. Wasn't great. He shot 2 of 8, but it's the defense. As long as everybody fits their roles and remains consistent, the Celtics should be blowing out teams. Because I think this is the 4th most amount of wins in Celtics history. Remain consistent.
They don't
is all
get to
I'm
the finals.
for.
It's a failure.
I would agree with that. But all I'm asking for, as a guy who's picking the Celtics to win this series, I believe in 5, don't go over your head. Just remain consistent, and you should be perfectly fine. Don't do too much.
Hopefully they're listening.
Let's move into our next topic of today's show. So this is a crazy game. The New York Knicks took game 2, literally took it from the Philadelphia 76ers on this crazy sequence where the NBA came out and said that Maxey actually got fouled twice here. But I got to say, the amount of effort the Knicks are putting in, Dante DiVincenzo missing a 3, then Hartenstein coming out of nowhere, able to get it out, then OG to Dante again. For him to have the confidence to make that 3 is incredible. They literally took, and that was right after, actually, a very lucky bounce by Jalen Brunson to make a very, very impressive 3. He's not had a good series whatsoever, but they were able, I believe in 25 seconds, they scored, 8 points, I believe, to take the game away from the Philadelphia 76ers. But I want to know, how confident after the first 2 games are you that the Knicks will end up winning the first round of the playoffs?
Mm-hmm. I have them winning this series, but I think that the Sixers are going to give them a hard time. They played very well last night. They easily could have won that game. The Knicks got lucky there at the end with that play where it looked like Maxey was fouled, and that no foul was called. They got a few home court calls there, but now they're headed down to Philadelphia and I think it's a must-win for the Sixers in Game 3. If they get down 3-0, then I think the series is over. They got to get it to 2-1, and then really have to win the second one too to even it up at 2-2, coming back to the next tied. And I think they're capable of doing it, but they look like a two-player team with Embiid and Maxey. Last night, Embiid with 34, 10 rebounds, 6 assists, and Maxey 35, 9 rebounds and 10 assists. He had a really great game. The rest of those guys, kind of role players. Kyle Lowry, a nice game, really. 8 points, 6 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 steals. He contributed a lot. And Harris, 10 points, 9 rebounds, 3 assists, and 1 steal. The rest of those guys, they really didn't show up. And on the other hand, the Knicks, Josh Hart, wow.
He's playing out of his mind.
What a game. 21 points, 15 rebounds, 3 assists, and 2 steals. I mean, you don't expect him to be the leading rebounder on the team, and he blew the rest of those guys away in terms of rebounds. Hartenstein was next with 8, and Brunson had 8. And you don't expect the guards to be leading in the rebounds. So that was interesting to see. And I agree with you. Brunson didn't play that well. He missed quite a few shots. He did wind up with 24 because he handles the ball on every play, and he had 6 assists too and 8 rebounds. So overall, the line looked good, but I didn't think it really showed how he played. On the other hand, DiVincenzo, what a pickup for the Knicks. I think that's really. I think they looked for Brunson to carry them actually last year, and he just ran out of gas. Maybe this year they're deep enough so that they can rely a little more on some of the other players. If Hart and DiVincenzo can keep playing like they played last night, the Knicks have a chance to get to the conference finals, I think.
Well, I have proclaimed this as a fear of mine. I did pick the Knicks, and I picked them a very long time ago to actually make a deep playoff run. And I said, maybe wrongfully so, based on the evidence presented so far in the first 2 games, I said Brunson or bust. That was my fear. The Knicks rely on Jalen Brunson to come out and win these games, and he couldn't do it because he'll run out of gas. Well, it looks like it'll be Brunson and bust because he's the reason why they're getting into these massive holes that they need to climb out of, with Deuce McBride coming out of nowhere, scoring 20 points, hitting clutch threes, and Dante DiVincenzo having to come out, of sort of the cellar after game 1. Didn't have a great performance, had an okay performance, and then stepping up and hitting a very, very clutch 3. That was the go-ahead 3 for the New York Knicks to put them over the Sixers. Jalen Brunson is having a horrible playoff series. This may be some of the worst basketball he's ever played in his entire career. We're talking shooting from the floor, not even from 3. Shooting 29.1% from the floor, 16.67% from 3. Horrible. Now, maybe it's because it was the entire regular season that without Julius Randle, Brunson needed to step up, and the numbers actually kind of say that. He was dropping 40 points in the last, month of the season. I think he averaged, 36 points a game for the last month of the season. Maybe the Brunson or bust has already happened, and the bust part ain't going to happen because they got to the 2 seed with Brunson doing that. Now it's up for the other role players, other starters, the playmakers that they had. OG playing okay defense. He's not the offensive juggernaut you thought he'd be from the corner, at least from 3. Josh Hart's coming out of nowhere and doing stuff that we really haven't seen. His rebounding is incredible. Hartenstein had one of the best offensive ratings in the NBA this season. His impact with the Knicks, incredible. I think he was number 3 in plus minus in the month of January. I believe it was Jalen Brunson, OG, and Hartenstein were in the top 3, and maybe even throw Hart in there, if I'm not mistaken, in plus minus in January. So this team, when fully healthy, is incredible. And by the way, that goes up when OG playing. Now they're 22-3 with OG on the court. So the Knicks scare me sometimes because they have come out of the gate in both games looking flat as ever. Embiid heats up quick. Maxey hitting threes like nobody's business, taking deep threes too. He went 5-11 in this game. Embiid and Maxey, and I completely agree with you, this is a 2-man team right now. Embiid and Maxey combined for 69 points. 69 points. Basically more than 2/3 of the entire 76ers team.
Pick it up.
Kelly Oubre, they definitely need him to.
You only have 4 points.
He shot 2 of 7 from the floor. Kyle Lowry can get hot from 3. That's the thing about it. He can play really good defense, and he had a couple very, very nice defensive plays. He had 2 steals in the game, led his team. But he's not the player he used to be. He's not the all-star he used to be, and his role maybe is not the same as it was on the Heat. Now, I think what they should do is what the Heat did. Stop giving Oubre the full court press on Jalen Brunson. Let Kyle Lowry do that. Because Gabe Vincent did that, and when Lowry came off the bench for the Heat, that's what he did. Don't let Kelly Oubre do it. Put Kyle Lowry on him.
Yeah.
And that's something that the Heat did last year. And the 76ers came out of the gate doing it. You're playing full court defense on Brunson. You're not letting him get set up or having a play drawn up.
Tire him out.
You're bothering him from immediately. And by the way, it's working. It's completely working. He's shooting 29% from the floor.
Yeah.
And that's on how many? He's shooting 27.5 times a game on average. He's taking a bunch of shots. He just can't hit any.
Yeah, well, he had 8 assists, too.
He did.
I'm sorry, 8 rebounds, 6 assists.
So he's not entirely costing his team the game. He's not helping, really. He's
helping some. He did have 24 points. I mean, maybe his shooting percentage was low, but he didn't give up.
Right. And
he was the high scorer for the team, 24.
I think that's he also had the most free throw attempts, more than
he gets in there, he mixes it up. He's not afraid to go down the lane.
Right. And I'm going to talk about Embiid for a second. What the hell is he doing? Boxing out. I think it was Josh Hart on that last throw, on the Dante's missed 3. You have Hartenstein coming out of nowhere. Why are you guarding like a 6'6" forward? Guard the big dude who is dominant on the boards. That's the thing the Knicks have done all season. Offensive rebounding. They are the number 1 team in the NBA in offensive rebounding. That creates second chance points. That gives it another opportunity for Josh Hart to knock down another 3, for Dante to heat up, for Jalen Brunson another mid-range opportunity. And Hartenstein in this game had a lot of putbacks, a lot of dunks, a lot of really very nice offensive plays.
Well, 14 points.
He had 14
8
points.
bounds, 4 assists. And Anunoby, a quiet 10 points, 4 rebounds, 1 assist. And I'm sure he played great defense.
Right. And defensively, Hartenstein, steals, blocks, same thing with Josh Hart. He had a couple of very, very nice blocks in this game as well. The first 2 games, while Josh Hart has played incredible, sometimes he can get a little bit too amped up. We saw this in a couple games too, where he drives, he basically pushes the ball down, and then when he's driving, the ball either gets knocked out of his hands, or we saw this last year with R.J. Barrett. He would drive and not have a clear destination of where he's going to go. Is he going to shoot it? Is he going to pass? Is he going to try for a foul call? We've seen that a couple of times, and it hasn't cost them necessarily with turnovers, but it looks sloppy. Now, maybe that's just me nitpicking him, but that's what I'm seeing. That's my observation on it. Josh Hart could sometimes get a little bit too quick, a little too amped up, and that causes maybe some mistakes. What I will expect, though, and this is what happens with Tom Thibodeau's teams, is Josh Hart played 48 minutes in this game. He's been playing large amounts of minutes. When does the fatigue set in? Because they're not going very deep. Precious Achiuwa doesn't play. Alec Burks, who they traded for, doesn't play. A number of these players who played in the regular season, now Jericho Sims plays like 3 minutes a game, but he's not playing. But we're talking about guys who played a decent amount of minutes in the regular season, especially towards the end, not playing. Now, Bojan Bogdanovic hit a couple nice threes. He only had 6 points on the day. Miles McBride didn't have a very good game, but he scored 9 points, the number 1 player off the bench. Mitchell Robinson shot 2 free throws, made 1 of them. He had basically no impact, and really hasn't since Hartenstein stepped up with Robinson hurt, with Randall hurt. He stepped up big time.
Hartenstein's better this year.
Absolutely. Yeah. And he's actually filling into his bigger role very, very nicely.
Yeah. On
the boards, getting it to his playmakers, really actually being pretty decent on defense.
Yeah.
Something that Mitchell Robinson doesn't bring you. Now, defensively, you could be a little bit better. He got beat a couple times by Embiid, but that's just because it's Embiid. Embiid needs to step it up a little bit. He looks gassed in the fourth quarter. Now, he said, and that's what I believe, I forgot who was on the call for, was it ESPN or TNT? I think it was TNT. Joel Embiid said he's about 70% healthy. Take advantage of that. Yeah. He's not inside really at all. He's staying a lot on the perimeter. He's taking a number of threes now because he can't drive to the lane as you could. He took 9 3-pointers in this game.
Yeah, he had 34 points. Not too shabby.
Absolutely not. But it's just about force him outside.
9 rebounds.
Let him try to beat you on the 3 because he's not healthy.
Rebounds.
Crowd the lane, crowd the box, crowd the paint if Embiid gets there, and that's what you got to be careful of. They're very quick. Tyrese Maxey had a couple of very, very nice threes in this game, and actually a couple nice threes in the entire series. Be careful on rotations, because they will get the ball out quick to a playmaker. And if it doesn't go directly to Maxey, let's go to Oubre, let it go to Tobias Harris. He can make a couple of shots. He hasn't been great, but it'll eventually get to a guy who can make a pretty damn good shot.
Well,
trap the paint, let Embiid be uncomfortable.
Next game?
I believe it's not for a while, I think, because they're traveling.
Yeah.
I'll look it up right now.
Friday night?
I don't think it's Friday. I think it's much later than that. The 25th. So that's Thursday. Thursday. Yeah.
Okay, Thursday.
So it's not as far away as I thought.
One day travel day, and then they're playing.
I was thinking the Celtics. They play Wednesday and Saturday. That's a very large gap.
They've had big gaps between their games.
Yeah, some of these games are like back, skip a day, game, skip a day, game. The Celtics are game, 2 days rest, game, 2 days rest. I don't understand what the schedule is, but yeah, wow. So Knicks game, I guess. Well, let's make our picks now because we don't have because it's Thursday. Yeah, we won't be able. Or actually, yeah, we will be. So let's make our pick right now. So game 3 at 76ers. We're 2 games in now. Who do you got winning? By the way, the Sixers are 4.5 point favorites in game 3. Who you got? What's that?
Sixers.
You're going Sixers.
Yeah.
I think I had Knicks in 6. I'm going with Sixers take game 3 as well. I think and here's what I think my chalk.
They should have had game 2.
They should have. I think the Sixers blow them out. I think we're talking double-digit victory here. Just because this was the Sixers game. The Knicks just wanted a little
They want to
more.
win 1 out of 2 down there.
Absolutely.
That's their goal.
Go back to Madison Square Garden, game 5, you can wrap it up. And now if the Sixers take both at home, this is going to be a 7-game series.
Yeah.
Because it's basically they could only play well at home. You know, the crowd gets into it, you get into it, Embiid starts going off, Maxey hit a couple threes. The Knicks are in a little bit of a hole. The crowd disturbs the Knicks rhythm. It's not going to look good. All right, before we jump into our mock draft, we're going to take a 30-second or 20-second break, so stay tuned for that. But we'll be back for picks 22 to 33, 22 to 32 right after this.
Using Wi-Fi without NordVPN could mean sharing your private stuff with more people than you think. Stay safe on public Wi-Fi. Get NordVPN's special offer and encrypt your internet connection. NordVPN. Online security starts with a click.
Welcome back to the Harvey Hour. My name's Nathan Harvey. That's my dad, Stephen Harvey. Let's get into our final topic of today's show, which is the mock draft, our final mock draft. So picks 22 to 32. Now, this will be the last mock draft video, or I guess topic, that we're going to be doing for this year because that's all we do. We do one round, 32 picks right before the draft, one set of picks for 3 weeks. So there we go. Let's begin. The draft's in 2 days. Let's begin with my list of picks when it comes to 22 to 32. So let's jump right into it. With number 22, I got the Philadelphia Eagles selecting defensive back Kool-Aid McKinstry from Alabama. The Eagles last year were 31st in passing defense and 28th in coverage grade according to Pro Football Focus. McKinstry, on the other hand, can bring incredible hands for press coverage, disrupting passing lanes early so your pass rushers, who are pretty good, can get to the quarterback much quicker or at least in a more timely fashion rather than you just getting beat from the get-go because, like I said, 31st in passing defense. He's incredibly good in anticipation and can read screens incredibly well. He has really good balance, very good recovery speed if he does get beat, and the Eagles just need a dynamic playmaker at the defensive back position, and that's what Kool-Aid could bring at the number 22 overall pick. Let's get to the next one. This one I had to trade early on. I had the Chargers moving back, the Vikings moving up to number 5. So I got the Chargers drafting Rome Odunze, wide receiver out of Washington. Now, the Chargers got rid of Keenan Allen, got rid of Mike Williams. Quentin Johnson's not ready to be a wide receiver 1, and here comes Rome Odunze, who had an incredible year, I believe, with Michael Penix as his quarterback. Now I think it's an upgrade to Justin Herbert. Odunze has an incredible catch radius, massive catch radius. He is also very, very good vertical speed and also able to get downfield very, very well. The Chargers need a difference maker on both sides in the passing game and even in the run blocking game, and Odunze is a willing and pretty capable blocker. If Jim Harbaugh does what we all expect him to do, is have a pretty balanced offense with a lot of ground and pound, my guess is they'll draft the running back pretty early in this draft, then having a willing blocker like Rome Odunze, and a capable one at that, is very, very good. To wrap up this, though, Rome Odunze was first in deep receiving yards, deep catches, and also contested catches. So if they're going to rely on a guy who they're going to have to throw to who might be double covered or at least trapped for a lot of the time, how about you give it to a guy who's number 1 at least to contested catches in college football last season? And also just a little bit of a cherry on top. He's 6'3" and runs a 4.4. That's pretty good. Pretty good for a guy who's 6'3". Let's go with number 24. We got the Dallas Cowboys, and I have them selecting J.C. Latham, offensive tackle out of Alabama. Now, they lost Tyron Smith to the Jets, and also they've dealt with offensive line injury issues. So this could be a potential starting piece, or this, because I don't know how you like Terrence Steele or how you would put him over J.C. Latham. But I do think only at 21 years old and having already 2 years of SEC experience, he'll be 21 by the start of his rookie season. That's very, very good. SEC, as a lot of college players have said, and current NFL players, the SEC is the closest thing to legitimate NFL football. So if you have a guy who will be 21 by his rookie season, already have 2 years in that system, now you go to the Cowboys, who have had a very, very good offensive line for a number of years at this point. That's very good. That benefits him greatly. He has good arm length, has the power to move bodies out of the way, helps you on the offensive line, and he has very nice and balanced footwork to help you out with structure and maintaining the protection on the offensive line. They need depth. And we know for a fact, in case someone gets hurt, he could be your starter, a very capable starter. J.C. Latham, number 24 to the Dallas Cowboys. Number 25, the Green Bay Packers select Graham Barton, center at Duke. Now, he did play offensive tackle. However, he's expected to move inside and most likely to center when he gets to the NFL. The Packers lost center Josh Myers as well. He's in the last year of his contract, rather. And they lost John Runyon in free agency. So they have an offensive line need, and that's where Graham Barton comes into play. He has an incredible athletic ability, and he also, with that athletic ability, can get to the second level and be incredibly effective. He has good mobility for his size, and also, he, like I said, he has strong hands and good mobility, which should allow him to move across the offensive line. And in case you need something for tackle, because David Bakhtiari is gone, you could put him at tackle if you require that. But he's probably going to move inside. You need a spot inside, especially with Josh Myers last year of his contract. You dealt with a couple injury issues. David Bakhtiari is gone. I think Graham Barton, center Duke, who a lot of people actually have as the number one center prospect in this current draft. There you go. Packers get a very, very good center prospect at the number 25 pick. Number 26, this one I was very, very interested in. And it was very, very difficult to decide what the Buccaneers should do. Because if you look at a number of mock drafts, they have Chop Robinson going to the Buccaneers, who I had already going to, I believe, the Miami Dolphins at 21. So I have an interesting pick that I don't think a lot of people will agree with me with, but I think it's Brian Thomas, wide receiver at LSU. He's 6'4", massive body. Who else is very, very tall? Mike Evans. Chris Godwin is also on the last year of his contract. Now, Brian Thomas is still a work in progress, but having Mike Evans and Chris Godwin right there to teach him how to run things, I think that could be a massive help, and it could really help his youth out very, very well. Just like Rome Odunze, willing blocker, who had the worst rushing attack in the NFL for the past 2 seasons. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers. You get to the outside, let that work for you. Brian Thomas could help. He was number 2 in deep receiving yards, and at 6'3", 6'4", he runs a 4.33. The dude could fly and is also massive. So you already know he's an incredible deep threat. Mike Evans is only on a 2-year deal and is still getting older, but he's still I still think he's very, very good. He's probably going to continue his 1,000 receiving yard streak. But to give Baker Mayfield another weapon, I like Trey Palmer. But outside of Trey Palmer, you get a returner in Devin Tompkins. You don't want that as your wide receiver 4. I think Brian Thomas comes out here and jumps Trey Palmer because I just think you want a guy who's 6'4", 6'3", runs a 4.33 out there as your slot receiver. Give me Brian Thomas. Give Baker Mayfield some help. I'm rooting for you, Baker. Number 27, the Cardinals. This is also an interesting pick. Where are you going to go? Offensive line, another weapon? I don't know. I decided to go with defensive lineman from Missouri, Darius Robinson. They need a pretty good pass rusher. Now, with a lot of the top-tier pass rushers like Dallas Turner, Byron Murphy, they're gone, at least in my mock draft. I think Darius Robinson, along with Chop Robinson too, Darius Robinson is probably the next best guy. He could play inside as well as outside. He was very, very good from both the inside and the outside. He has great length as well as hand size. Do not block him with a singular blocker outside. He's incredibly effective. His bull rush inside disturbs interior offensive linemen. So you're going to need to double this guy up. He's going to draw a lot of attention. He's incredible in run defense, which will help out the Arizona Cardinals, who were 32nd in rushing defense last season. So I'm going to go with Darius Robinson, number 27, going to the Arizona Cardinals. Next one, 28. This one's an obvious pick. Depends on what player you want, but I have the Buffalo Bills selecting A.D. Mitchell, wide receiver out of Texas. They lost Diggs. They lost Gabe Davis. I don't think they're going to go with Khalil Shakir as your wide receiver 1 entering 2024. I don't think that's a smart idea, especially with the fact that you still can't get over the hump in the playoffs whatsoever. You've had a very, very difficult time. You got embarrassed by the Bengals 2 seasons ago, embarrassed by the Chiefs this season. And I just think you need a wide receiver who could be a very, very good asset to you. Allen gets a big guy, big and athletic guy. This guy is 6'1", 205, runs a 4.34. So this guy could fly. He's pretty ideal size, 6'1". He's incredible. He is incredibly quick release off the line. He's a really, really good route runner. And I think downfield, Josh Allen, massive arm. How are you going to show that off? How about you get a guy who can go downfield pretty effectively? I got A.D. Mitchell, number 28, to the Buffalo Bills. Number 29, the Detroit Lions select Cooper DeJean, quarterback out of Iowa. This one, I think if the Lions were able to get Cooper, I think this is going to be a very, very happy Lions organization because he's 6'1", 203. He's great size, tremendous size. He's really, really good instincts. His anticipation's great, very high IQ, works well in the slot as well as outside. People are saying you can move him to safety, although cornerback is a perfectly fine position. He is very, very quick footwork, very, very high upside as well. Very, very high upside. Now, the problem with him is he doesn't have a lot of snaps in press coverage. He's much better in zone. He's played a lot more zone defense in his career, so you might not want to go man there. And also, to help out Dan Campbell's passing defense, which has ranked 27th on average since Campbell became the head coach of the Lions, you need to bolster that defensive back, and that's what you're going to do with Cooper DeJean out of Iowa going to the Detroit Lions. Next one, number 30, the Baltimore Ravens select Tyler Guyton, offensive tackle out of Oklahoma. They need to address their edge offensive line. They already got rid of Morgan Moses. Now you could go say John Simpson, the guard, as well. You might want to put, you might want to draft a guard there, but you lost Morgan Moses, who was your second best tackle out of Ronnie Stanley as well. But you need to secure that right side. And lo and behold, Tyler Guyton's a right tackle. In 731 snaps, he allowed only 3 hits and 2 sacks. That's pretty impressive. Now, some of these guys early, it has like 2,000 snaps and 1 sack. So you're not at that level, but at least you're getting a pretty competent offensive lineman. Right now, you have Dan Falele as your right tackle. You're going to replace him with Tyler Guyton, who's 6'8", 322. His athleticism is very, very impressive. He's still raw, but I think just with the coaching, you would step up and make him a really, really good offensive lineman who has great power and great movement skills. I got Tyler Guyton, offensive tackle out of Oklahoma, going number 30 to the Baltimore Ravens. Number 31, the 49ers. They need help at this position, and they're going to get with Amarius Mims, offensive tackle out of Georgia. Trent Williams, while he's still at the top of his game, he's aging, and his contract is close to, or rather, he's just aging and he needs to perform better. His offensive line, the entire 49ers offensive line needs help. They were one of the worst offensive passing block efficiency offensive lines. They're ranked 23rd in 2023. Him, just as a player in college, was ranked number 2. So that will definitely help your offensive line. They need help on the right side. That's what Mims gives you, right side help. To help out Brock Purdy, also help in the run game as well. Nice flexibility, fast and fluid. He has incredible size, 6'8", 340, with an arm length of over 36 inches. That's nearly in the 100th percentile of offensive linemen in this current draft class. You need help bolstering that offensive line. Trent Williams is getting older. You're going to need eventually, he's either going to retire. I don't know if you'll move off him necessarily, but you're going to need to do something with your offensive line, who, like I said, ranked 23rd in pass block efficiency, and that's why I think Amarius Mims, number 31 to the 49ers. And finally, to wrap up my mock draft, the Kansas City Chiefs select, and this one's interesting. I got Xavier Worthy, wide receiver out of Texas, the fastest runner at the combine in the history. I ran a 4.21, and that's exactly what the Chiefs are looking at. Remember what we thought of the Chiefs offense a couple years ago when they had a guy who is quick, can get downfield very well, and their offense was built on explosive plays. What was that guy called again? Oh, yeah, Tyreek Hill. Yeah, who could run fast, get downfield with a nice precision, and could really contribute to a massive 75-yard touchdown play, which the Chiefs haven't had since this guy left. That's Xavier Worthy. I'm not saying that Xavier Worthy is the next Tyreek Hill, but he brings a lot of the same skill sets when it comes to speed, acceleration, explosiveness, ability to get downfield that the Chiefs have been looking for, maybe because they switched their entire offensive identity since Tyreek Hill left. You're going to get that with Xavier Worthy. I mean, think about this for a second. You're going to need a wide receiver anyway because Rashee Rice, according to the reports, is going to get a massive, lengthy suspension this season. So you're going to need a wide receiver anyway because you're probably going to get off of Kadarius Toney. I mean, Mahomes basically went to Andy Reid and Veach and ownership and said, hey, do not play Kadarius Toney anymore. He drops too many passes. Every time I throw him the ball, it's going the other way with an interception. That's what I think, truthfully, because there's no way that Kadarius Toney was hurt for unseen reasons. He's even coming out and saying on social media that he wasn't hurt. Get Mahomes a wide receiver. They relied very heavily on Pacheco being efficient in the run game and on Travis Kelce. It didn't work great in the regular season, but then in the playoffs when it mattered, every player stepped up. You need a wide receiver. Also, you got rid of MVS, had a couple of drops. You need a wide receiver who could separate. Xavier Worthy is your guy, incredibly explosive guy, and I have him as my number 32 pick to wrap up my mock draft. Very long way.
Got some great analysis there, Nate.
Thank you.
Really put some good thought into that, and it's interesting. I have some of the same position players going to the teams that you picked there, but different guys. So
yeah,
here I go.
Let's go.
Okay, so the Philadelphia Eagles with the number 22 pick take Quinion Mitchell, the cornerback. The Eagles cornerbacks aren't getting any younger, and I think they need to refresh with Quinton Mitchell. He's a fast-rising prospect. He's aggressive. He has a very aggressive playing style. He's a top shelf in the ball skills. Great straight-line speed. He's step-for-step on the deep ball with following the receiver across the field as well. In man coverage, he flies down the line of scrimmage and run support. So I think he's got the mix of skills that would be very good for the Eagles. And in 2022, he had a game where he had 4 interceptions, 2 for TDs in one game. Yeah. So not bad. On the con side, he may lack the elite short area quickness and change of direction skills that are necessary in short coverage. And he needs to get a little better in the straight line coverage. But I think he'd be a good pickup for the Eagles. With the 23rd pick, I have Chop Robinson, edge rusher from Penn State, 6'3", 254 pounds. He's explosive first step and tons of upside. He times the snap perfectly. He's intelligent, he has great instincts, and he prepares well for every game. His speed and balance, and he's a pro-ready pass rusher. His cons, as with many of these rookies, is he still needs to work on his technique a little bit, needs some refinement. The run defense needs work if he wants to play in there on all 3 downs. His hand usage needs a little more polish, and working in space and dropping into coverage is something that he really didn't do much in college. But I think he's a good fit for the Minnesota Vikings. Brian Flores did a good job last year helping the Vikings defense improve, and they need more talent up front to continue that growth. Moving on to number 24, the Dallas Cowboys take Amarius Mims, offensive tackle from Georgia. 6'7", 340 pounds. He towers over the competition. He packs a punch with length, size, and power. He's athletic, agile. He's a good own blocker, explodes out of his stance, and quickly gets to his landmarks on the pass sets. So I think he's a massive guy, and I think the Cowboys are going to need him. As you mentioned, Tyron Smith went away in free agency, and they need an offensive lineman. You took a different guy. I took Amarius Mims. As I mentioned, Tyron Smith is gone. Dallas needs help on the O-line. Mims needs to work on his technique, as many of the rookies do. He relies too much on his raw talent, his inconsistent leverage. He can be beat inside, and his experience. He was only a 1-year starter. So those are the cons. The Green Bay Packers with number 25. They're going to take Cooper DeJean, defensive back from Iowa, 6'1", 207 pounds. He can play both the cornerback and the safety position. He's versatile. He's a big playmaker. He has size and athleticism. Lines up on the outside or in the slot. He can do either. Could play in the box as a linebacker, too. He's that big. He can return kickoffs, too, or punts. So he's a versatile player. And, he needs to work on his technique. He's got a big frame, but has a hard time staying with the quick receivers in short area situations. He also had a bad leg injury there, not last year, but the year before. So that's something to watch. I think he's a good fit for the Packers because they need help at both cornerback and safety. Number 26, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers select Braylon Trice, edge rusher from Washington, 6'4", 274 pounds. He's a wide range of pass rushing moves. He sets the edge well against the run. He has the length to keep up with the offensive lineman from getting into his pads, and he could be a 3-down lineman. I think his fit is good. As Shaq Barrett really hasn't been the same player since he injured his Achilles a couple of years ago. He needs to be, on the con side, more explosive. His first step quickness needs to be better, and is to work on his technique and run defense, particularly his read-react skills.
I think this is a good pick too because the Bucks need help on the defensive end.
Yeah, they
because
do.
What's it called? Shaq Barrett's no longer
I
there.
thought it was interesting you took the wide receiver for the Tampa Bay.
I mean,
I have him going to the Chiefs coming up here.
Right, but like I had Chop Robinson going to the Miami Dolphins. I think if I'm not gonna say redo it over, but if Chop Robinson was available for the Bucks at 26, I'd choose that edge rush because you lost Shaq Barrett. You need some sort of edge rush. So I agree with you there. It's just there were no, I would say, first round completely perfect picks.
I think Trice is slated to be a second round pick, but a lot of these really top edge rushers are already gone.
Right. Exactly.
Okay, the Cardinals are the number 26 pick. Take Byron Murphy, a defensive lineman from Texas. He's 6'1", 308 pounds. He's a disruptive force who could make a big impact right away. His power and explosiveness are outstanding. His low center of gravity gives him good leverage, multiple pass rushing moves. His first step quickness is great. Problem with him is his height. He's not the prototypical defensive tackle. He has a small wingspan. He needs to improve his hand usage and footwork and his tackling technique. The Cardinals need help on the defensive line. Byron Murphy can help them out there.
Both have pass rushers. The main brother pass rushers for the Cardinals.
Number 28, the Buffalo Bills select Keon Coleman, wide receiver from Florida State. 6'4", 215 pounds. He's a big play catcher, pass catcher, size, length, athleticism. He's a go-to target in the red zone. He's got leaping ability. He overpowers his way to the ball. Stephon Diggs is gone. The Bills have got to take a wide receiver. Who'd you have them take?
I had A.D. Mitchell.
Yeah.
Adonai Mitchell from Texas.
But a wide receiver as well, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, they got to have one. Diggs is gone. Coleman, he's got to work on his technique like most of the rookies. He lacks elite top-end speed. He needs to work on his footwork, both releasing from the line and coming out of his breaks. With the 29 pick, the Detroit Lions select Chris Braswell, edge rusher from Alabama, 6'3", 255 pounds. He's got a stout frame, impressive explosiveness, first step quickness, powerful hand, arm usage, elite athleticism, blows by the blockers, sky-high potential. And I think the Lions, they need someone opposite Aiden Hutchinson to give Hutchinson a little relief over there. I think they sometimes team up on Hutchinson because he was the big playmaker for them. And now that they have somebody on the other side, that could be good for both of them. And I think Braswell needs to have a wider range of moves. His read-react skills need some improvement, but he looks like a good pick for the Detroit Lions. With the number 30th pick, the Baltimore Ravens take Trevondre Sweat, defensive lineman from Texas, 6'4", 362 pounds.
That's huge.
He's a mountain of an interior defender. Rare athleticism and explosiveness for his size. Perhaps the biggest human in the draft. His elite play, strength, and sheer power can collapse the pocket. I think the Ravens, they need more playmakers who excel in the trenches. And this guy, Sweat, could be the guy. On the con side, he's not the most explosive player. He lacks the top-end change of direction skills because he weighs 362 pounds. He may be limited in early down play. Maybe he's just going to be a pass rusher. We'll have to see. With the number 31 pick, the San Francisco 49ers take Tyler Guyton, offensive tackle from Oklahoma, 6'7", 328 pounds. He has great movement skills. He's smooth and fluid. He's given his size, he can take on the opposing defenders where he wants them to go. So that's a big advantage for him. I think his technique is a work in process. He needs to work on his footwork, his hand placement, getting to be lower than his opponent on the blocks. He needs to improve. His improvement will help him maximize his physical skills. The 49ers need a right tackle, and he's the guy for them. With the last pick in the first round, the Kansas City Chiefs, as I hinted before, take Brian Thomas, wide receiver from LSU. He's 6'4", 205. You laid out all his skills very well, and noticed that the Tampa Bay could benefit from having a big guy like him, a lot like Mike Evans, and with
Chris Godwin
being on the last year of his contract. That makes a lot of sense for them, but I'm not sure they're going to do that. I think they take the lineman, and that leaves Brian Thomas for the Chiefs, who need a wide receiver. And as you said, Rice may be suspended for some period of time, and the wide receivers for the Chiefs were not very good last year. They need somebody, so he's the guy. And those are my picks.
I'm going through it here. We didn't agree on as many as I think we did last year. So I'm going through some of the picks now. Obviously, we're not stupid, so we each picked Caleb Williams going 1. Then outside of that, Dallas Turner we agreed on for number 8 to the Falcons. Number 9, Jared Verse to the Bears. Excuse me. Then outside of that, Terry and Arnold, number 13 to the Las Vegas Raiders. And then outside of that, we didn't agree on a single pick.
Yeah, well,
so that's
we'll
4
see
or
what
5.
happens.
That's 4 or 5 picks.
Last year, I think I got 2 right in the first round. They were both the number 1 and 2 picks, and after that, I didn't get any of them right. So
the problem with the last year was that the I forget who it was, the number 9 pick, the Eagles and whoever was the other team, they swapped picks. So was it the Bears last year? I'm forgetting who they swapped with, but they swapped picks with somebody. And so the order we didn't get necessarily right, just the totality of the pick or the players we selected. At least I got right. So
for the draft.
We're going to be breaking this down on Friday. This should be a very, very fascinating first round. We're going to see how many we got right. We're going to go off a point system, see how well we do. We'll break everything down on Friday when we break down round 1 of the draft, who won at least in the first round, and moving forward from there. But yeah, that is the end of our mock drafts for 2024.
It's a lot of work and a lot of fun.
It absolutely was. So yeah, I believe that wraps up today's episode of the Harvey Hour. Thank you so much for tuning into today's show. Thank you for the constant support. The recent support, as always, we greatly appreciate it. Thank you for watching every show, every clip. We appreciate it greatly. As always, though, my name's Nathan Harvey. That's my dad, Stephen Harvey. The summer is coming up. Things are changing. I'm going to hint it out right now. A lot of things are going to be changing within the Harvey Hour. You already saw one change, which was the lower third, the topic bar. If you're watching on YouTube, sorry for the podcast listeners. You can check it out on YouTube, youtube.com/the Harvey Hour. Summer's coming. A lot of things are changing. A lot of things adding here. But for this episode of the Harvey Hour, for the April 23rd edition of the Harvey Hour, my name is Nathan Harvey. That's my dad, Stephen Harvey. We are the hosts of the Harvey Hour. Catch us Friday, 6:30 p.m. Eastern, right here on YouTube.
My grandpa.
Using Wi-Fi without NordVPN could mean sharing your private stuff with more people than you think. Stay safe on public Wi-Fi. Get NordVPN's special offer and encrypt your internet connection. NordVPN, online security.